Hi, it's Nixalina. Welcome back to another episode of me. How you're doing? Happy Monday. This week, I've gone back in time and found one of the best, most popular, most listened to episodes for you to all enjoy, new and old listeners alike. I hope you like it, and I'll see you all next week. This podcast contains strong language and discussions about relationships, sex, and love. It may not be suitable for younger listeners. This is the Can't Keep My Mouth Shut podcast, and I am Nixalina. Hi everyone, Nixalina here, and I'm back with another episode of my podcast. How you're doing? Happy Monday. I hope everyone's had a great weekend. Perhaps you're hungover as fuck. Perhaps you're feeling fresh and ready to take on the working week. However you're feeling. I hope you're ready to listen to some fucking sex talk. Oi, oi! This episode is called Women Who Cannot Orgasm During Penetrative Sex. Let's discuss. This was a topic that come up, excuse the pun, with my girlfriend. We was at a bar having happy hour drinks, and as we all know, happy hour drinks is the best conversations ever. And for some reason, and I couldn't tell you because obviously, #happy hour, how we got onto the topic, but she then said, oh, I can't orgasm through sex. And I was like, me too. Kindred spirits. And then one of our girlfriends who was at the table was like, what? I mean, I just met her that night as well. She's cool as fuck, but this is sort of, you know, how open I am. And I was like, yeah, no, I can't either. And the third girl couldn't believe it. She's like, yeah, kind of like every time. So me and my bestie, we both looked at each other and was like, I'm so glad you said this out loud, because I kind of thought I was the only person who couldn't. And she was like, no, I've never done it like through sex either. It's always had to be extra stimulation. And then she said, you should do a podcast on this because you'll be surprised how common this is, but not spoken about amongst women and I guess men as well, and people who are single and in relationships. So here I am, bearing my soul, as requested, admitting that I don't orgasm through sex. Oh, God, I fucking hope my dad doesn't listen to this. I really, really, really fucking do. I wish that I could bar it from family members. Oh, sorry, Dad. So, I'm going to go back down into the orgasm history files, a la Nixalina. This is like... That was me going through the paperwork. In case you don't know, I really do need my own sound man. So back into when I was 21, 12 fucking years ago, so old I am. 21, first ever orgasm. Ever. Right? So I, up until that point, didn't actually know what an orgasm was. And sex was basically the guy comes and then gets off. And then I've been in 2 relationships by that point. So one was 1.5 years and one, about 2 years. So, I kind of, I was no stranger to sex. I was just a huge stranger to an orgasm. I'd never had one. I met my then fiance. Oh, fiance. Can you fucking believe that? I was engaged at 21. That is going to be another podcast episode for sure. What a story. So, I had no idea how an orgasm happened for a woman, in that even if I Googled it or researched it or anything, I could never get there myself. I didn't really know what it felt like or what the big deal was. And I certainly didn't feel like I was ever going to get there through sex. And lo and behold, one random day with my then fiance, I had a first ever orgasm. And oh my fucking God. You know, like when you see those scenes in the movies where like the heavens opened and Angels fluttered down and crowned me with a golden halo. No, it was just actually fucking amazing. I'm not gonna lie. Probably the turning point as well, because I had started Sex in London City when I was 23, so 2 years in, I was still clearly obsessed with orgasms that I wanted to make a blog. Yeah. Oh, wow. So I was like, this is literally what guys have been fucking going on about it forever. Like, I get it now. But I'd never really got there with a boy. And even with this guy, it took me a long time to feel at ease around him. And I feel like a lot of my problem with not being able to climax was because I felt so fucking uncomfortable about being naked, about my body. I was so young. I mean, like, even my whole mid-20s, I guess, I look back and think I was always so concerned with about how I'd look or how I felt or, oh God, what if, I don't know, I hadn't shaved my legs in time, or what if at that angle I've got 5 chins. And now, it's like with my current boyfriend, I hit 30, I am naked all the time. Except I have my curtains closed because that's illegal in this country and I do not go on my balcony naked, Singapore. I promise. That's my disclosure, okay? But yeah, I'm pretty much naked all the time. I've never felt more comfortable with my body. I've never felt more sexy. I've never felt more attractive. I've never felt more at ease. And they do say that 30s is like your best years and is the new 20s. I'm so here for it. Many 21-year-old me, still very like body conscious, still very worried about sex not being good enough for the man. I'm still thinking sex was about the guy climaxing and still thinking I should make all the right noises like, oh yeah, you're so big. Oh. In fact, I do sound a lot better than that. I'm not going to lie, but I don't want to upset my producer, you know, by sitting in here doing sex noises. There's got to be a fucking limit, isn't there? So I found an orgasm. And I found it not through penetrative sex. It was, of course, clitoris stimulation, which I believe is something like 80% of the women population out there can only orgasm through. So since I found it, I then found vibrators. When I obviously become a sex blogger, you know, vibrators came in thick and fast. So I handed them out at Halloween like popsicles. Here you go, kids. It's for your basket. No, I didn't. Apparently that would have been wrong. And yeah, vibrators then, clit, stimulation, orgasm, bang, bang, bang. Life is fucking great. I just could never still come through sex. And as I ventured into my mid-20s and late 20s, I still couldn't come through sex. I could come, and I could come during a sex session with a guy, but I couldn't actually come through physical sex. And I remember having a conversation with my girlfriends about it a long time ago in London. And one of them was like, oh, I always climax when I'm on top. And I was like, yeah, but how? I mean, not how would you get on top? I could do that. I'm not that fucking useless. Oh, so you climb on, and then what? Use it as a gear stick? But she said that what she does was she would be able to get on top and have sex, but also stimulate the clitoris during the movements, like moving back and forwards, and that way she could come. I tried it, couldn't fucking do it. In fact, it's so alien to me that during sex, I don't even feel like, oh, I reckon this might be what they're talking about. Or, oh, maybe if I kind of got in that position. Or, listen, I've tried all fucking positions. I've gone on for hours and hours. I've introduced sex toys for ages. And nothing works. So my girlfriend, my Singapore girlfriend who sparked this whole podcast episode, so you guys have got her to thank. She is my age. And also, same, has never come through sex. So while I was looking into this episode idea, because I genuinely don't just sit on the mic and talk shit for like 20 minutes. I do have some sort of prep. It's 98% talking shit. So what I've discovered is that most women, around 80%, as I mentioned earlier, can't do it through penetrative sex. It has to be through clitoris stimulation, okay? As we all know, the clitoris, not the vagina, is the female sex organ, okay? So this is where the majority of the nerve endings are, which then leads to the orgasm. The orgasm lives in that little clitoris area. I understand that there's also the orgasm, you can find it through the sex, that's why women can do it, but the clit is probably the easiest go-to and the best. I can't compare, but obviously I fucking love it. Orgasm through the clit. So, in sexual positions, usually the penis doesn't get to the clit area. I mean, it's not going to go into a fucking biology lesson here, but it's really difficult, right? Usually the penetrative sex is about the guy going in and out. So there are certain positions that you can also get a clit rub at the same time, but correct me if I'm wrong, it has to be a really good fucking position to orgasm on the clit and the same time as the guy. I mean, like, I've never done this same time cum thing, ever. I don't understand what it is. What I will suggest is using a vibrator whilst you're having penetrative sex. That is pretty fantastic because also the vibrations can be felt through the guy as well. But yeah. Why am I doing this episode? Because I want to make it very clear to both guys and gals that women who don't come through sex, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with anyone who's not been able to do that because actually it's really quite hard for us to do that. We're kind of genetically designed to have an orgasm on the outside. And also there's a lot of women that take a really long time to climax. You know, like, and I gotta be honest, the fingering thing, oh God, it was never good. Never good. Guys, never good. Not for me. I don't know what you're up to there. It felt like you were trying to fucking start a fire, right? Not nice. I had burns rather than pleasure. So personally, I'm a foreplay girl, obviously, and I do need either toys or I need my guy to go down there. But even then, it takes me a really long time. And why am I fucking airing my dirty laundry? Because I want women to know that it's actually okay. When I said this with my girlfriend at our happy hour drinks, we kind of looked, we was like, whoa. I can't believe, I thought it was just me. She's like, yeah, no one talks about it, but I generally can't. And it was like a aha moment between us. We cheersed. Cheers to our lack of orgasm. But no, it's like, it shouldn't be something that we don't talk about. And it shouldn't be something where you feel ashamed or, there's something wrong with me. And that was my thought process through most of my 20s. In fact, I remember I was, 24, 25, and I was sleeping with a guy who was older. And I was just so uncomfortable. I didn't really fancy him anyway, if I'm totally honest. And I remember afterwards, he was like, oh, okay, well, we need to find out what you like. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, you haven't come. And I just felt so much pressure. And I was like, oh, is that a bad thing? Because, like, I don't really anyway, ever. And it was a really awkward convo. And it kind of like unknowingly shamed me for not coming. He wasn't a bad guy. He was being nice. He was basically saying, look, I want to make you happy too. But I didn't really know what made me happy or pleasured. So I couldn't really give him any direction. And I just felt then pressured. And then the next time we tried to have sex, I was just like, pressure. Like a fucking boiling kettle. Wasn't good. So the more pressure you feel, the less orgasm you're going to get. It's a vicious circle. So yeah, women who can't orgasm, let's discuss it. It's pretty much most of us. To conclude, you can orgasm, just not through penetrative sex, and it is okay. To the women that can orgasm through penetrative sex, please, dear God, give me a fucking workshop so I at least understand and could perhaps try and get there myself. I would like to think that it's possible for me somewhere along the lines, not because I feel incomplete, but I'm just, morbidly curious and, of course, a sex blogger. So I almost feel like it's in my duty to hunt down this penetrative sex orgasm. And also, leading me on my thought process to my next point, just because women don't come during penetrative sex doesn't mean we don't like it. I love sex. Let's say it for the people at the back. I love sex. I love sex. It's great. The sex with my partner is the best sex of my life. I've never felt more comfortable. It's just amazing. And I love the connection as well. Do I orgasm through penetrative sex? No, I don't. But I still love sex. And it's like, I also, when I first met him, I tried to kind of explain in the nicest possible way, it's actually not a reflection on you. If I don't come, that doesn't mean you're shit in bed. I just never have. And at this point, I was 29 when we first met. Never have. Never through sex? No, mate. What, through sex? No. But you've orgasmed? Oh, yeah, loads. 3 times a day at the moment. Through sex? No, never. No, never. And to this day, still no, never. Not that I'm going to stop trying, but it's kind of like, it's just totally okay. 80% is a fucking huge lot of the population, my females, don't do this, right? You're not weird, you're not broken, you don't have an issue. It's not that the penis isn't big enough or fat enough. It's not that you're not really in love. Oh God, he doesn't make me come. Do I even love him? Is that a problem? None of that. None. Clear all that messy thoughts. We just biologically designed slightly differently. That's all I can say. Clit, orgasms, great. If you haven't found one of those, then that's definitely something you can chase for sure. I would wholeheartedly support buying a vibrator. It doesn't have to be massive, doesn't have to be dick-shaped even. Just like a couple of rabbit ears will be fine. This definitely should be sponsored by a sex toy brand by this point. This is a clearly open market to plug someone's vibrator, and I've just decided not to do it. So anyone who wants to plug your vibes, come at me. But yeah, definitely chase an orgasm for sure, and definitely explore it yourself. That's how part and parcel why I first found, I really love my orgasm was because I then got a vibrator, right? So I'm like, wow, I can come, not through sex, and then kind of went down that avenue. So at least I know how it feels. I know what turns me on. I know what pushes my buttons. I know what to then guide my guy with, like doing this, a bit faster, a bit slower. But through sex, it still eludes me. And you know what? That's okay. I'll update you when I found it, if I ever find it. I may go to the grave never having an orgasm through penetrative sex. I'm sure I will be absolutely fine if that's the case. And that's the end of this episode. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Thanks for listening to the Can't Keep My Mouth Shut podcast. Produced and hosted by me, Nixalina, and recorded in the Splice Cast Studios in Singapore. I'm available to listen to on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and all major podcast listening apps. Do subscribe to enjoy a new episode every Monday evening. Please do give me a 5-star review. It helps other people also find my podcast. For more content and features to read, you can check out my website, Nixalina.com. That's Nixalina.com. I'm also on social media. Simply search at Nixalina, Nixalina, to find me. Don't be shy. Come say hi.